And then let me try that again. I wonder how many of you have seen the following video from TikTok that was sent to me by Stinging Back, who posted it on their site. A&M posted it on there, which really illustrates how ICAC and the vigilante stings can really go wrong, and how it really doesn't take into account all the very different people who are on the internet and what they're really up to. Most are not up there trying to be predators of any sort. If anybody is a predator, it's Chris Hansen in this particular case. So I want to share with you this video and have this young man tell it in his own words. But first, I'm going to give you a little background. He's 26 years old at the time that he did this video. He's talking about these stings, Chris Hansen sting. He did not recognize Mr. Hansen, who's been in the media longer than this person's been alive. And he, as a young boy, thought he was going to get his groove on and get some action with a young female who is about his age. And instead, what he ends up doing in an attempt to impress her, he ends up stuck in the middle of a sting where he even gets beaten up by the police as he tries to leave. Nobody asks him what his age is. Nobody listens to him because they rely strictly on what he said. But he went on a platform for kids in a chat room, chatting with other kids, probably for other people, not just kids. And he was looking for some action. That's it. He's not a predator. He wasn't trying to hurt anybody. He wasn't trying to do anything, okay, that would do anything other than what teenagers very often engage in. And beyond that, I'll have you listen to him in his own words. Maybe you've seen this on TikTok. I hope so. I hope there's a part two somewhere because it really needs to be said, and I'll stop periodically with a couple comments.
I found myself walking into a trap set up by none other than Chris Hansen and the producers from the hit TV show To Catch a Predator. And to make matters worse, after I'd been bamboozled by the decoy, I wander into a kitchen and I find Chris Hansen. And after I find Chris Hansen, I get beat up by the police. This was one of the worst nights of my life. Not to mention the fact that I was completely innocent and also a minor myself. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, how does this happen? But let me explain. You see, 11 years ago, I was 15. 15 years old and being creepy on the internet. It's what 15-year-olds do. So I was 15 years old, surfing the internet, and I wandered into a chat room. Now, this particular chat room was set up to catch creeps. I had no idea. I was
Now you have to ask yourself, what are police doing setting up these chat rooms anyway? Just randomly interfering with people's lives. They're not doing an investigation. They're not looking at anything in particular. They're simply violating people's Fourth Amendment rights to be free of police molestation and simply, living their lives. They're not following up on a tip. It's a complete fishing expedition, and worse than that is a recon mission. They're just hanging out there.
barely figuring out how to work the internet. This was 11 years ago, and I was a kid. So I'm in the chat room trying to get my Riz on, and I see this girl, and her profile picture is pretty cute for what it's worth, right? And I send her a message. I say, hey. She messages back almost immediately. She said, hey, what are you doing? And I start talking to her for a little bit. Then she asked me how old I am. I say, I'm 15. She's like, dang, that sucks. I only like older guys.
Because, of course, it's a sting. But he doesn't know this. He's thinking he's going to impress a cute girl and get together with her. And of course, he doesn't realize that what he's done is done the first step of the five-step program that ICAC and the vigilantes will do is they bait you by pretending to be a particular age. But of course, like the ICAC people, vigilantes are also changing their tactics. They're getting more sophisticated. They're getting sneakier. They're making things up. And in the process of using AI and other features, they're creating even more of an opportunity to violate people and violate constitutional provisions and do very dangerous work that will get people killed or injured, as what happened to this young man here.
I'm like, well, lucky for you, I lied. I'm 20. Now, as soon as I said I was 20, the conversation progressed into something that was way more explicit by nature. I'm not going to get into the mutual fraternization because I don't want this video taken down, but eventually she was like, I want you. I like that you're old. Come over. Now, I'm 15. I do not drive at the time, but now I'm committed to the lie. So I'm like, well, where you at?
Right.
When do you want me to come over? She's like, well, lucky for you, I'm right down the street, and my daddy's gone all weekend. I'm like, bet, here I come. Now, me being 15 years old and a glass half full type of guy, I didn't think about things going way too good and way too fast. I was just ready to get some. So, boom, she sends me her address, and I type it in my GPS, and I steal a vehicle, and I am home.
Typical kid, except for the stealing of the vehicle thing, right? But he's not thinking. He's thinking he's going to get sex. Why not? It's right down the street. How lucky can you get?
My way. Now, upon my arrival, I had a horrible gut feeling, but I just chalked it up to nerves. I thought, heck, maybe I'm just, a little nervous, a little excited about the horseplay that's about to ensue. I pull into the driveway and I call her, and sure enough, she comes to the door, but she's holding a clothes basket. I'm like, wow, that's weird. You had all night to do that. So I'm walking up to the door, and she's like, whoa, don't mind me. I gotta throw these in the washer real quick.
And another comment I wanted to make too, he says he's 20, and it's not uncommon for people to hook up in that age range. And what we're finding out with new brain research is that people's brains are not solidifying until they're between 27 and 30. They actually have talked recently about brain phases. The first phase being up to about 27, the next phase being 27 to about 40-ish, and then or 50-ish, and then a later phase, and then your final phase, about 5 phases. And that really indicates then a different understanding that has not reached the legal profession, has not reached a sociological understanding that we now should be training people and explaining to them that, talking about their judgment. I'm not exactly sure, but talking about their judgment centers, talking about how people are actually relating, because we have laws that are criminalizing conduct like this, but at the same time, we have the neuroscience that is bearing out the behavior of these people such that they are sticking together as they used to do in an earlier time where it was not uncommon for a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old to even get married and have children. And we call them, as you've heard me say before, great great grandparents. So, this suggests a real problem that our society has not yet addressed in a very healthy and meaningful way. Instead, we're trying to incarcerate ourselves out of this situation as well. He goes on.
Quick, come on in. And then she runs off. I'm like, that's a little weird, but I'm already here. Boom. So boom, I pop in the door. I'm like, what's up? I don't see nobody. So I start walking to the kitchen. As soon as I cross the threshold into the kitchen, I see someone pop out from the other room wearing a suit and a tie. And I'm like, whoa, I thought your daddy wasn't supposed to be here. Now I'm already here and I have no idea what's about to happen. I really just think it's her dad. So I'm like, hey, what's up, Pops? Da 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 da. He's like, why don't you have a seat right there? You want a cookie? I was like, yeah, I'll eat a cookie. Yeah, I'll have a seat. Nice to meet you, man. Now this guy was serious, like really, really serious. I thought he was just being like the serious dad role. So I sit down, he looks at me right in my soul, and he goes, what is your business here tonight? I'm like, man, I'm just here to catch a vibe, maybe a little platonic horse.
Yeah. How do you, as a 15-year-old, tell a father that you're there to have sex with his daughter? All right, that's awkward beyond belief.
Play with your daughter, what are you doing here? He looks at me, he's like, you know that girl's 14, right? And I was like, yeah, of course I do, man. Then he pulls out a folder, and inside the
Because that's perfectly common. If of course, how sex between minors is illegal, but it's extremely common, and there are laws on the books of all sorts of things that we shouldn't necessarily lock people up for that, just like we don't lock people up for jaywalking. It should be a matter handled within a household, within a family, not with the police or vigilantes involved.
folder, he has a transcripts of our conversation. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, you were doing way too much, man. If she's choosing, just let her. And then he starts going through the humbug things I said to her. I was like, look, bro, you don't have to do this. I know what I said. Like, do you want me to leave? He's like, no, just wait a minute. I was like, no, I think I should go. He's like, no, no, wait a minute. I keep trying to tell this man, like, look, bro, it's not what it looks like, but he keeps cutting me off. As soon as I say something, he brings out the creepy humbug stuff I said in the freaking transcripts. Eventually, I realized, man, this is a dead mission. So I look at daddy. I'm like, all right, Pops, I'm out of here. Like, you done scared me off. Tell your daughter, holler at me later. I'm gone. So I get him to walk out, and he's like, okay, just walk out of this door. And I'm like, no, I'm going to walk out the door I came in. You can't tell me what to do. You're not my dad. So I go back out the front door defeated. I walk to my stolen vehicle. Next thing you know, 11 years ago, I found myself.
So he walks out the other door, he gets beat up by the police. What's hilarious about this, and I'm sorry, it's not hilarious being beaten up, obviously, but what's hilarious about this in a twisted sort of way is here you have Chris Hansen, so desperate to get his own groove on and get his video produced that he doesn't even listen to this kid. And later on, I'm sure they worked this out. I don't see any video which explains it, so I don't know exactly what happens after that. But the kid says he got beat up by the police and everything. Surely they figured out his age afterwards. I'm not sure they charged him with it, but I wonder if they charged Chris Hansen for soliciting a minor. because that's what he did. He solicited a minor to pretend to be an adult and to have sex with a teen girl. But the only problem is they're 1 year apart in age, so they're probably not going to be charged at all. And here you have a situation of bait and switch that went very, very badly, with Chris Hansen actually soliciting a minor, you could argue, because he was behind the entire affair and bringing a minor into a situation where a minor was endangered, where you had sex between minors encouraged. He didn't really care. As soon as they heard that he was 20, though, they were very much interested in going further with it. Not 40, not 50, 20. Okay. So you have to wonder. Chris Hansen didn't know the age, and I'm sure at some point in the conversation it came up, I didn't know the age. Okay. I didn't know he was 15. And I'm sure the 15-year-old said, well, I tried to tell you. So was Chris Hansen charged? It doesn't sound like he was charged. Maybe he should have been charged with soliciting a minor because it doesn't matter if you know the age or not. Many of us said, we didn't know the age. Some of our group said, we did not believe this age. We thought that these were cops screwing around, and we told them off, and that didn't save us. Other people walked away, and that didn't save them. The police came as late as 4 years later. And some people like me said, yeah, I know, but there's no sex talk. I mean, I don't understand why you're arresting me. There's nothing sexual going on here, but they simply said that these words that you used could be construed to mean that, and that's what it meant. And then there's a lot of elements to this story here. But what I think is funny is when you not funny, haha, but funny, amazing when you compare it to some other cases. So here we have a case where Chris Hansen apparently wasn't prosecuted, right? This young man certainly was injured. I wonder if they did anything to help him out. But now we have the case out in the western part of this state, Big Stone Gap. The head football coach out there, Travis Turner, walked into the woods, apparently tipped off by someone that there was an investigation that was going to result in him being charged with 10 counts of child pornography. And the day before, he disappeared. Federal marshals are now looking at him. They're officially considering it a missing persons case, but unofficially, it looks like a fugitive on the run case because he has since been charged with production of child pornography. And of course, we know that through subsequent reporting that Mr. Turner, or Coach Turner here, has actually had a lot of rumors swirling around him. A lot of people were talking about this. A lot of people apparently were reporting this, but it took many, many years apparently before anybody went after the coach because he was a winning coach in a small town. And when you're a winning coach in a small town, you're a local hero. All the cops go to your games. It's very awkward to arrest one of your own, but somebody apparently tipped him off. How did he know to disappear into the woods with a weapon? So they may find his body, or they may find that that was simply a way to protect himself along the way. Maybe he had stashed something out there in advance. Who knows? But we have another case too that I want to share with you, which is equally disturbing for the incredible ineptitude of the police and their buddies, the vigilantes, who increasingly they work with. And I want to bring this up here. It's not this case, it's this one right here. So we have an ex-psychologist who, like Travis Turner, the coach, had lots of stuff swirling around him as somebody guilty of a crime. He had been warned already about his unorthodox counseling methods, where in this case, he is advising five teens to take off their clothes while he is counseling them. Some unorthodox, to be sure, but highly questionable and professionally suspect behavior. And here in this section, It's astonishing that this man got away with it again. Again, why is it that we see over and over again ICAC failing to get people who are actually suspect and yet taking people who barely have a whisper about them or who vigilantes have attacked, and I'm not just talking about myself, and those people, well, we got to get on their cases right away. But actual prior cases where there is long histories involved and professional misconduct and being warned by people in your professional circles, well, we can ignore those situations. Why? Let's listen to this report here. It's a minute 47.
Utah psychologist accused of having underage clients undress and as he filmed them during therapy sessions. It appears that man has now entered a guilty plea. KSL investigator Courtney Johns joins us with the latest. Courtney.
Took long enough.
Robert Didinger is pleading guilty to 3 of the 12 charges that were filed against him, including 2 felony charges of sexual exploitation of a minor. But the remaining 9 charges were all dismissed with prejudice. Didinger has been in jail since April with at least 5 victims listed.
With prejudice means they cannot be brought back. So listen to this sweet deal that this man got.
In charging documents. Now, 7 months later, as he entered his plea, it appeared he didn't understand how much time he could actually spend behind bars.
This would be him in the middle here, and they're going to give him 1 to 15 years. He ends up getting the low end of that, and he didn't realize it at all. So you have to wonder about this man's judgment in general.
That's 1 to, not 0 to 15, that's 1 to 15. It is 1 to 15 years in prison.
But as the AG's office presented the deal, it all started to make sense. Now, in their plea deal, they are recommending 364 days in jail and 48 months probation. Now, we reached out to the AG's office asking if Didinger will get credit for time served, meaning that he would only have a few months left, which is pretty common in these deals. They did not respond. Now, that being said, a judge will make the final call during his sentencing, which is in January. As for those 5.
All right, so a couple of things. Dininger, which Dindinger apparently is his name. They have it spelled wrong elsewhere here. But I like how they say it's common in these cases. This gives the public the wrong perception. It may be common in Utah in these cases, in this particular area of Utah compared to other areas, but it is not common elsewhere in the country. There's a wide disparity as to what people actually get. 1 to 15 years molesting 5 children over and over again, and he gets 364 days and 4 years on probation. That's it. Incredible.
Victims. The AG's office says they could only track down 2 of the 5 victims, and one of them did not want to participate. Didinger has been on the psychology licensing board radar for nearly a decade for inappropriate behavior, like admitting to touching a minor in 2017, but they continue.
Now, again, if I had done something like that, they would have destroyed me. But this guy actually touches people. And you know, it's not just about me. I've said many, many times on this channel, telling the story of people who did nothing, nothing, and they have been treated far worse than this guy, far worse than Travis Turner. Okay? Remember, in both Turner's case and this case and other cases that I've reported on before, you have people who've done far worse, and Caitlin Grimley is the luckiest of them all. And they got a sweetheart deal compared to what people who did absolutely nothing to anybody in the proactive things. There were no actual children at risk. Those people, over and over again, seem to be getting harsher sentences, worse probation terms for the non-existing children than for existing children when you have multiple reports in the past that should have gotten this guy taken out of a job as somebody working with children a long time before.
To let him practice. And you can read more on our investigation by going to our website at ksltv.com. Back to you.
So they continued to allow this man to practice despite the fact that he admitted in 2017, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, to inappropriately touching a student, and they allowed him to continue. I mean, is Utah just devoid of good child psychologists? I don't get it, you know? But again and again and again, we have this myopic view, recidivism cases and restorative justice cases rather have helped recidivism a great deal. And, I've applauded those. Good for Caitlin Grimley. FAC, Florida Action Committee put out a wonderful, wonderful report saying that these sorts of diversion programs help a great deal. Well, why are they exclusively used for people who actually interacted and harmed real children, but seem to be denied all those people who didn't touch anybody? All right. It's insane how they're doing it. So, again, I wonder if Chris Hansen got in trouble for knowing the age or not knowing the age, and nevertheless continuing to hold this young man against his will for a period of time and interrogating him, not listening to him. I mean, it's incredible. It really is astonishing. Hit me back. Let me know what you think. This is ICAC Unpacked. Have a good day.